What's up, world, and welcome back to the Global Frequency. I am your host, Nefarious. Frequency Girl is taking the night off, but I am here with our special guest, Tanner Eddleman from Noble Comics, here to tell us all about his creator-owned comic, The Displacer, now crowdfunding on Indiegogo. Tanner, what's up, dude?
Not much. Got off work, ready to do some promoting. What's up with you?
Awesome. It's the end of the week. It's been a busy week. Lots of work that we've been doing. Today was like a real headache of a day. But thanks for sticking with us. I know we're starting an hour late. Let's say hello to everybody that's been in the chat, left us a message. We got Mo saying he can't make the start time today because we pushed it back till 8, but he's dropping in and giving us a like. Same thing with Dave. He's probably going to be asleep by the time that this airs, so he'll watch it tomorrow. But we do got D-Wags and we do got Lord Crackhead coming in to support the cock, because everyone here loves cock. Creator-owned Comics says, whip out your cocks, just not publicly. I learned my lesson. We got Amanda B here on time. I'm so sorry, Amanda B. Frequency Girl is not with us. I'll understand if you're just going to bounce because of it. She had to hit the gym. It's like her last day in this like long gym challenge that she's trying to do. She'll tell you all about it when she comes back, I'm sure. Anyway, Tanner, let's get into talking about the book. But before we do, I'm going to ask you some questions to get to know you a little bit better. What kind of comics?
Your audio's kind of cutting in and out there. There you go. We're back now. So
what about now? Can you hear me? Is it okay?
Yeah. Now I can hear you.
Eric says, we've been busy with work. Weeb. Explain. It's been a work week. Not weeb. But you know, there's been a lot going on our end. There's been a lot of work that I've been doing. Raiden Radio says, it's Friday and I have cocks on the brain. Why is she hitting a gym? What did the gym do to her? It insulted her weight, and so she's there to just beat the crap out of it. You know what I mean? So anyway, Tanner, what kind of I almost said what kind of cocks did you like to read growing up? What kind of comics did you like to read growing up?
Yeah, so growing up, I was kind of introduced to this whole superhero genre first through animation, because I was born in 2000. So I had pretty much the golden age of like when Teen Titans, the original series, was on TV, and there's a lot of like Justice League Unlimited, Batman the Animated Series, all that stuff was kind of my introduction. And my dad would get me, like, you know, you go to whatever fair, flea market, and they just have bundles of comics of like 50 of them. He would just buy packs of them, and I'd sort through them. And the ones that I liked the best were probably the Ghost Rider vs. Vengeance comic. I read like 100 times. I had the Death of Superman that I read a ton. And then from there, it was a lot of really focusing on graphic novels. I read a ton of Hulk, ton of Justice Society, and then totally fell in love with Batman. And that's probably been the majority of what I've read.
So, I mean, it sounds like you got into like early Marvel, went for like the longer form books, and then found DC, found your preferred superhero in Batman, and it's just been history ever since. We got Larry from Niobe Comics with us. Word. Bro, congratulations. That cover announcement is going to be sick. I can't wait to see any mock-ups that you can show or share or, you know, anything. I'll keep it secret, I promise. But that is super exciting. Where's Pigtails? She's at the gym. She had like a certain number of days in a row challenge, and we got like underwater earlier today doing some editing, and so she was like, "Fuck it, I gotta cut out. I gotta go to the gym tonight." So it's just me. Sorry, I know it's not nearly as exciting when she's not here to banter with me, but you know what are you gonna do, right? You can't get between a woman and her workout. So, what kind of comics do you like to read now? Is it still Batman?
For the most part, still Batman. I don't read a ton of Marvel DC stuff today. If I am going to buy Marvel DC stuff, it's probably Batman, maybe like a Wolverine, maybe some Daredevil, something like that. I like a lot of the street heroes a lot more. Other than that, I'm mostly doing indie comics. A lot of Comicsgate stuff has been the majority of what I read, though I'll pick up the occasional like Image Comics book, whatever I think looks cool. But
So
if I am
nothing
going to
currently
read,
on the stands that's really capturing your interest, but you do like crowdfunding comics. So
yeah,
and I see you've backed quite a few. You're like up in the 40s at this point.
yeah.
What are some of your favorite crowdfunding comics that you've backed?
So my favorite stuff so far, pretty much anything that Narwhal puts out, I like because, first of all, from a crowdfunding perspective, he gets his stuff out and shipped really quickly. Like, I've never had a problem with anything like being late, so that's always nice. But his art style and his writing style, I really like. It's kind of, they're kind of more cinematic. They're less superhero-y than I normally read, but I like them a lot. Other than that, my favorite's probably been Cyberfrog, but I feel like for most guys, it's probably like a given in the Comicsgate sphere. But it really, I didn't expect it to be as good because when I first heard about it, you hear the name Cyberfrog and you're like, okay, what's this? But then I saw some of the art and I heard him actually describe the story, and I was like, man, that actually sounds pretty awesome. So I picked it up, read it, and it was like a surprisingly awesome story. The art's obviously awesome. So that may be my number one so far, even though it was one of my earliest, if not my earliest. I've got all my other ones sitting on the shelf back here, but those
Sitting in long boxes.
and EVS got to be my top.
Yeah. What about the ones that you funded or backed recently? I noticed you did
Give me one
Graveyard
second.
Shift.
Again, with audio seems like it cut out for me for you.
Huh.
So I didn't get that last question.
Jiggle the microphone. Jiggle your mic. You know what I mean? There's nothing I can do on my end, man.
It's just like nobody can hear you.
It's possibly. I'm asking the chat to see what they can say. Let me know if I'm muted, guys, or if you can hear me. I've been talking to Larry real quick. I'm just going to catch up. He said it was not cheap to get his special cover guest. He did 2 commissions for me, personal ones back in 2017, so he kind of knew who I was, but I just out of the blue messaged him today, and we made the deal in about 10 minutes after. Dude, I am it's so awesome. Arian Ape says, hello all, driving and felt the need for cock, will be listening. My audio is good, Neff. His is kind of choppy a little bit, so it might be might be the headset.
Let me try something real quick. Give me 1 sec. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sure. I'll just keep vamping because that's what I do. I love to talk. I love to talk about cock, especially cock. But man, that is super exciting. In case you guys don't know, he's talking about the one and only J. Scott Campbell that's going to be drawing Niobe. That's fucking sick, man. Like I would love to have J. Scott draw one of my characters. But I mean, it's well suited and well deserved. Larry has been at this for a really long time. He's put out a lot of books. He's currently in previews in stores. So he's put a lot of effort into getting his book out there. And it's nice seeing that get reciprocated. People starting to recognize his title and, want to collaborate with him and provide covers. I know that if there is a virgin variant of a J. Scott Campbell put out on the next Niobe campaign, I am going to try and snag the art if Larry puts it up, because he put some art last time. And if he does put the cover up, then man, I'm going to grab that and go to a convention and get that sucker signed. You know what I mean? That'd probably definitely be something worth checking out. He's talking about Jamie Tyndall. My bad. Jamie Tyndall's just as good. One of Freak Girl's super friends on Twitter, I think. Yeah, we have his whatchamacallit. What's her name? Right over here. Punchline. That was it. We got his punchline. Who said J. Scott Campbell? I thought it was J. Scott. I glanced briefly. Michael Bancroft said, I've really been enjoying a huge Chuck Dixon cock nightly this week. Someday, Jay Scott, I hope. That's what I was saying. I thought it was Jay Scott looking at the Mary Jane. I just got it into my head. But you're right. That's Jamie's work. Jamie Tyndall's, a great name too. I mean, honestly, I would prefer to have Jamie step up and do a cover for me. Jay Scott would be great, but when I talked to him, he was like, no way, man, I just don't do commissions. So it's pretty cool that you guys have a personal relationship that you have cultivated, for a while back. I knew his right-hand lady, Tabitha, was it? I can't remember now. But we were chill at a couple of the conventions that we went to when we were hanging out, and Frequency Girl made friends with him. Yeah, Jamie Tyndall on a cover, bro. That's some sick shit right there. How are you doing, Tanner? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little bit fuzzy, but it's good. Thanks for tuning in, Mr. Bancroft. Glad to have you with us. Bancroft was just live on his channel, so anyone watching, you should go check that out. I saw the title of the video. I was super stoked to go watch it, but I had to go live myself. I kind of had it playing in the lower right-hand corner, watching the closed captions, but, I got to be a good host, right? So we were talking about some of the most recent books you received. I saw on your list that you backed Graveyard Shift 4, right? And you backed some of the more recent campaigns like Godlike, which hasn't come out yet. But what are some of the books that you've recently received that you were opening up from our neck of the woods?
Some of the more recent ones that I've got, I just got Wraith of God. I just got, like I said, Graveyard Shift. I just got Narwhal comic. And all of those I enjoyed. Like I said, I'm kind of a Narwhal fanboy, so that probably was my favorite. But I really like Jawbreakers. I did get that one too. But Graveyard Shift, I wasn't sure on it when I first got it, because I first jumped on, I think, with the Graveyard Shift 3 campaign, where I bought like all the previous books, number 3. Sure on it because I thought it was like and stuff like that. But when I actually started getting into it, I really like the direction it's heading. I like the storyline it's been building up the past few books. And I like all the original characters as well, like the more superhero-y characters they've thrown in there. So that's been one that I knew I was going to like the art, but the story on that one too kind of surprised me of how much I did enjoy it.
I gotta ask, all right, Mr. Narwhal fanboy,
Yeah.
what is it about Narwhal's art that gets you, that really makes you such a fan? And I'm gonna need your input and your feedback on a controversial campaign by the name of 499. So 2 questions. First one, what makes Narwhal so great? Second one, what the fuck, 499?
Sure. So what I think what I think makes his art so great is how expressive it is. So the way I kind of see it is like you have a scale from realistic to just pure like emotion, I guess is what it would be, like pure expression versus like purely realistic. And usually comic book art falls somewhere like 75% realistic, 25% very expressive. I feel like that's kind of like Jim Lee is where kind of that falls. But his is like 75% expressionistic and like 25% realistic. And I think for the style and storytelling that he goes for, it just perfectly is expressive of what he's trying to say. I guess that's pretty much it. Just how expressive it is and how well it actually correlates with his storytelling and how it comes across. As for 499, I will say it's probably been my least favorite of Narwhal's books yet. The coloring didn't really do it for me. I get what they were doing with like this very, like, I don't know what you say, like I guess dynamic coloring. Just like the solid blue, solid pink, solid whatever.
Schizophrenic. That's what I call it. I call it schizophrenic coloring.
Sure.
Yeah.
Schizo coloring. Why not? It didn't really do it for me. The story I thought was fine, but it felt really short because it was shorter than the other ones. But it felt really short, and it kind of left me like I don't want to say like left me wanting more, but it's kind of like that. I feel like this should have been something bigger. It kind of felt like half of a story, half of a thought of a story. So it didn't feel complete to me all the way, but I still enjoyed reading it. I thought it was a fun book. I know, like, even your boy Zach in general is he's become more and more controversial as like a comic creator. Like, I see, for the most part on Twitter and everything, nothing but hate for the guy. Usually everyone's hating on Zach because of either his business practices or just like his books in general. I've always enjoyed it. I know people like EBS always stick up for him and are in his corner, which of course, they go way back. But it's like, I feel like it feels like he doesn't really want to be in the comic industry, and it feels like he doesn't really want to be successful. Just the way he markets and the way that some of his stuff he does. But it feels like he's having a good time, so doing what he does.
I feel like he's miserable most of the time. Like, that's the thing. When I watch his videos, I'm like, you are just not having it, my guy. It feels like he really doesn't want to be making comics at this point. But I digress. Narwhal has an interesting style. I have a problem with it, though. The dude clearly understands staging. He understands flow, and he's great with layouts. He understands comics. It's evident. The dude really does get it. But then he doesn't draw straight lines. And he doesn't draw straight lines on purpose. He just kind of like that expressiveness that you're talking about. I feel he could do a little bit less expressiveness and a little bit more, that's an arm, not a squiggle. And it feels like he's trolling me when I get his books. I get his books and I open it up. I'm like, bro, the fingers don't connect on that hand. What the fuck? But and exactly that little smile that you got right there. I feel like that he's sitting back there going, counting his money, going, I gave him 4 fingers on that hand. Like, part of me wonders if that's his intent, because he is kind of like the savant, the idiot savant of comics game, right? That's his brand. Narwhal plays the banjo and wears bow ties. Yeah.
I will say, whenever he really makes an effort, like, did you see his art on like the Godlike art contest?
Yeah.
Like, whenever he goes for it like that, dude, his stuff looks like crazy good, in my opinion, because it has that awesome like expressionistic perspective that he always does.
He's good at perspective. And that, just like Is This You, right? You remember the page for Is This You? That was the Zach's book about, like, whatever, Nazis being like immortal and suddenly being outed on television or whatever. There was a page, or at least one panel, it was like a 3/4 panel of the guy sitting in the big kufi chair and like on TV being interviewed with the TV camera in the foreground and like the audience and everything. And it was really perfectly staged. Like, you could tell the perspective angles were great. He had everything where it needed to be. And then he just like, he didn't even draw straight lines for the screen in the background. He was just sort of like, I'm just gonna MS Paint this shit in here. And that's his style for me. I don't know. Part of me feels like he's doing it deliberately and laughing at me when I'm reading it. So anyway, let's get off Narwhal. Let's talk about you, brother. Let's talk about you. So, what defines your love of the creative medium we call comics? What in particular about it draws you to the medium to tell your stories that way?
Sure. I feel like comics, they do something that TV and movies can't do, and that's they can be ridiculously goofy and over the top and off the wall to a degree that I don't think you could get away with anywhere else. And I think it's accomplished a couple ways. One, because first of all, you don't have any sort of monetary restriction like a visual effects budget or something like that, or an animation budget. It's just whatever you can draw, you can do. But also, it has that great, almost like cheating of having to read it, right? Because whenever you read it, it all sounds great to you, and you can make it sound however awesome you want in your head, and you sell yourself on it. Like, I was talking. Funny enough that we're talking about this, I was talking with my brother the other day about foreign movies and why I think that foreign movies, like foreign horror movies or Parasite and all that stuff, why they're so critically acclaimed usually. They're reading the subtitles. It's like, because you have no idea if an actor just flubs their line or not if you don't speak just reading it. And so it all sounds great to you and sounds awesome to you. And when you're reading a book, it's the same thing. Like, like Harry Potter or whatever. It all sounds great in your own head, and it completely pulls you in, and you believe it because you're the one telling the story to yourself almost. So I think that aspect of comics really sets it apart from everything else. And again, like the sky's the limit as to what you can do with it.
So what was the first book or script that you wrote, and when did you start working on the Displacer?
So the first script I ever wrote, oh my gosh, it was so bad. It was back in high school, maybe I was like a sophomore or something, and it was around the time that from Valiant Comics, The Valiant came out, and it was a team
I remember
book.
that.
Yeah, it was that team book, but you didn't know any of the characters, and then from the team book, all the number ones came out. It's like, oh, whoever you like. I thought that was an awesome idea. So I wrote this team book. It was really bad. And I ended up, of course, just scrapping it and then went with Cardinal for my first book. The Displacer, I actually had the character since probably junior, senior of high school, and then wrote this script like maybe a month before the campaign was launched. No, not a month before the campaign was launched. A month before work started on the campaign. So it was pretty much, I wrote it, then immediately had an artist for it, then immediately started production on everything else. So the character had been around for 5 or 6 years, but I didn't actually write a script for it until pretty recently.
You've got a pretty active YouTube channel where you post a variety of videos on lots of different topics, from mental illness to current events to comic book reviews and pop culture commentary. What inspires you to make YouTube content, and how is it different from what inspires you to make comics?
YouTube thing, that started back in, like 2019, I think, and that was around the time where I think John Malin was talking about got to make a YouTube
build your channel.
Build an audience, build a channel. So I was like, okay, I'll try that. And you can see from my early videos, I think I was doing like 2 videos a week maybe. And I realized that that's not really for me. I didn't want to do like a lot of drama chasing, which I know that's how you build a channel quickly, is you do a lot of drama chasing. And I was like, man, I really don't want to do that. I just really want to talk about whatever it is I want to talk about. And as far as like what inspires me to do it, it's really just like I only talk about maybe, I don't know, like 1/10 of the comic book drama that's going on, just because it's something. Like I talk about Batman stuff and Nightwing stuff and some Superman, stuff like that. That's just, those are characters that I like personally and that I read. And so when a change happens to them, it affects it affects me differently than if I see like anything with She-Hulk going on. I don't care about She-Hulk at all. I don't need to make a video about it. But as far as comics go, what inspires me to make them, I think about comic books all day, every day for like as long as I can remember. All the time I'm just thinking about comic book stuff, and it's usually my own stuff. At a young age, I knew I wanted to make my own comics. I never wanted to work on like Marvel or DC stuff. So just constantly thinking about characters and scenes and storylines. And it's from everything that I do and everything that I watch. I'm always like, oh, that's a really cool idea. How could I incorporate something like that? So I don't know, like if there's a single source of inspiration, just it's always on my mind. Anytime I'm not doing something, or even when I am, I'm just always thinking about it.
So you mentioned the Cardinal earlier, right? That was a Cardinal Book 1, Cult and Punishment, which you ran on Indiegogo back in August of 2001, and which you fulfilled in January of 2022, which is really great because, it's like it was a regular sized window, like people like the 6 to 9 months. They don't like going beyond that. And you fulfilled on time. Tell us about the campaign and what you learned from the experience.
Sure. So Cardinal 1, my first time making a comic book. I'm 20 years old when I start making it. So I knew nothing, relatively nothing. So the process was pretty rocky at times. I think I went through 2 or 3 different line artists before I got the guy I landed on. I went through 2 different colorists. I didn't really know what I was looking for or what I should be paying, or what the time frame should be to get pages turned in. So that was kind of a very steep learning curve that I had to figure out pretty quickly. And then it was, everything from trying to find a printer to trying to find, am I supposed to be doing a story at the end? Am I supposed to be getting variant covers? Like all this stuff I'm trying to figure out. So it was kind of stressful, especially compared to this campaign.
To say the least. Yeah.
Yeah. But one thing I knew that I had going for me going into it, it's like you said, I had it turned around pretty quickly, is I had the book pretty much finished by the time the campaign came out. So I wanted to have it done so that I could get it turned around really quickly. And same thing with Displacer. Today, I just got my final line art page just a couple hours ago. My God. So I always like to have them done before the campaign's over. But hopefully, by the time the campaign is over, I'm already talking to the printer. Then whatever hiccups happen along the way, I kind of have some cushion to account for that and forecast for that. But it was definitely a learning experience. I feel like I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit more now, at least, and have kind of tempered my expectations. Because also, I had no idea what to expect as far as the performance of Cardinal. I was like, I don't know, is it going to make like $20 or $10,000? I had no clue how it was going to turn out. So I'm happy with what it did.
It made what, like 1,000 something hundred?
Like $1,400. Yeah.
1,400, yeah.
Maybe 6. And then 40 books were sold, which that was perfectly fine with me. And I'm hoping just as we go forward to just keep building on top of that, more and more backers and more books sold, all that stuff. But yeah, I think it was a very good experience. I think I learned a lot.
Yeah. 1,600. I remember. Yeah, 40 backers. That's a good start for a book that, came out the tail, like the mid end of August of 2021, and fulfilled at the beginning of this year. I don't remember seeing it shared around a whole lot. I remember seeing you. This is 2021, right? So did you do a lot of promotion for the book?
Not a lot. Of course, on Twitter. I just did mostly Twitter stuff. I was on Narwhal's stream. I was on Indie Vault. Those are the only 2 streams I went on. Because going into it, I knew Narwhal. I connected with him, and I think like 2019, like at the very start, he was one of the first guys I talked to. But other than that, I didn't really know anybody. I didn't really know who I was supposed to talk to or who I was supposed to communicate with, and I'm still kind of learning through that now. It's like, who do I even go to get promoted, or like what streams and all that stuff. So it wasn't a ton of promotion, which is kind of, in hindsight, kind of surprising. It did as good as it did, relatively. The fact that I wasn't on any shows like the entire time. So again, something I'm still trying to figure out, and definitely need to be on more shows and promote more. That's all on me, I know. Just, you forget about it and always say, yeah, I'll make sure I get that set up later, and then just never actually do it.
Are we going to see a Cardinals 2?
Oh, yeah. It's in development right now. I've got maybe about a fourth of the book complete right now. Probably going to do like a Cardinal 1 second chance thing, probably first quarter of next year. And then hopefully by the second quarter of next year, I'll actually have the campaign live, is the plan. We'll see. It might be a little bit later than that, but that's kind of the plan. And then hopefully have it fulfilled, same thing, either by the very beginning of next year or late that year.
Now, are you going to go with Juan Cartasso again for Cardinal?
Yeah, he's going to be the guy for 2.
The artist on the book, yeah.
Yeah, same artist for book 2. He does the pencils and the inks for it. The colorist, though, is going to be different. I don't know who yet. I've got one guy I'm talking to who I'm waiting for him to turn in some art to see if it is what I'm looking for. But so it's going to be a different artist, but we'll see how it turns out.
Gotcha. So why did you go with Nicolas Nieto over Juan Cartasso this time? And I've noticed, I'm looking for like some of the images to put up, but my share screen is being stupid. But I noticed that a lot of the style is kind of reminiscent of that sort of Narwhal expressive, impressionist, if you will. Even some of the colors remind me of Narwhal's stuff, so I can definitely like feel the I guess the appreciation for his stuff, like you being a fan of his. So why did you go with Nick over Juan?
So I did that because I wanted one to just stay focused on Cardinal 2. He's still turning in pages for me right now. I didn't want to split his focus and have him do two different books at once, or put Cardinal on hold to do this one. So, because he's I don't want to say he's slow at turning stuff in, but he definitely takes his time to make it good. So with him, it takes just a little over a year usually for the size of book that I'm looking for, maybe like 14 months, something like that. So I wanted him to just completely stay focused on that. And Nick, I encountered on the same place that I found one, and that's I go on Reddit, have like a comic book collaboration subreddit where everybody's looking for work and showing their different art pieces. And I liked his art a lot because it is more expressionistic, but his style is extremely dynamic. And it's very flexible too, because like I said on Narwhal Stream, you can see if you look at the cover, he did both the cover artwork and the interiors. The cover's like that very kind of pulp illustrator style, where the interiors are a bit more like expressionist freeform. But yeah, he
Yeah,
did
the cover definitely does remind me of like an old pulp novel, like the cover of a pulp novel,
Yeah.
or even something from like an earlier time when we were looking at maybe a movie poster for Chinatown or something. Speaking
Sure.
of guys who understand pulp and know about early entertainment, we got Aldous just off the farm with us. We also got Jay Burtz, who I did not say hi to earlier. Hail, Jeremy Burtz, bow. So I was saying, like, these are some of the interiors. Looking at this, you can tell that perspective-wise he gets it, right? He understands the stuff that he's drawing here, but it does have that sort of, I guess, like scratchy, rough, disorganized style to it. Everything's grounded in the frame, right? Like the legs, the foreshortening there, that's all good. Everything is well staged in the panel, but you can tell it's not he's not going for specific realism. He's going for the feel of dingy, grimy, run-down office where this guy who's probably a private detective, way too overworked, all of the cigarette butts falling out of the ashtray. You know what I mean? So in a way, I feel like the art really brings that to the forefront. But then you got panels like this, and I'm wondering, I'm seeing $4.99 here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a point where he came to me and he said, "Hey, I want to do some stuff with the colors," and you'll see through some of the other stuff that I posted both on Twitter and I think I got a page very bottom that there is some kind of different styles within the book. So you've got real world, which is kind of what you're seeing at the beginning there. You're seeing there's some things that I've posted where you're seeing kind of this nightmare world, which plays a big part in this book. Is he's kind of being tormented by these visions and dreams that he's having in this little town. And that's kind of got its own style to it. And then we've got this other
Sorry about that.
almost kind of like in between, which is kind of what that style was there that you were looking at, with a little bit of that $4.99 coloration, I guess you could say.
I like this. It's almost like the badge is slapped in there with Photoshop. It's very realistic. It's very rendered, and then there's the art there too. It separates. It's the same thing with the news article. It grounds like a piece of something very real, very tangible in the frame, and then surrounds it with this more impressionistic art style that I guess like brings the gestural element to the characters themselves. I think that's neat. It reminds me of some of the stuff that I saw early on in series like The Invisibles, where they were really playing with the contrast between art, and photography. Although they do that now and into less effect I see a lot of people just kind of, especially in Marvel, taking like clip art essentially in Photoshop and like slapping it in there into the background to just kind of like satisfy a billboard or something, and it doesn't actually suit the aesthetic of the comic. So I think it's important to know that this is definitely attention to detail here. He's purposefully putting this stuff to juxtapose the real versus the fantastical. So we've been talking about it for a while. Why don't you give me the lowdown on this book? Who are the Displacers, and what is this book about?
Sure. So the Displacer is a supernatural detective, essentially. So there are these people who are born with a certain ability. This ability is to appear wherever they are needed. Problem somewhere, and they will just vanish and appear wherever the problem is, any time of the day, anywhere in the
Quantum
world.
leap.
Quantum leap. They appear where they're needed. And once they're there, they have to figure out why they're there, solve the problem, and then they will just teleport and return home. And they can't return home until the problem is solved. So they're problem solvers that basically have unlimited range to do whatever they want, because since they're in this situation, they all have a badge, they're all deputized. So they pretty much get free reign to do what they need to do in order to get back home. This book, we see Displacer number 109, who's John Evanson, and he's been doing it a long time. He's one of the few guys left because it is a pretty tough line of work. There is a pretty high turnover rate, and usually if you turn over, it means you're dead, because, you might appear somewhere where it's like a gang shootout, and you're supposed to solve that problem, but you end up dying. It could happen. It's all just kind of a roll of the dice of what problem you're going to have to solve. In this case, our Displacer appears in this little mysterious small town, and there doesn't seem to be a problem for him. So now he's got to figure out why he's there, what he needs to do to get home. He finds a woman who has recently gone missing, who has returned, and he thinks for sure that she's got something to do with it, but he can't figure out what he's supposed to be doing here. And so that kind of leads into his investigation as to what actually is going on. All the while there, he started having these visions, and he's being haunted by these very demonic, otherworldly things happening to him that seems like it's trying to push him out of the town, but of course he can't leave until he figures out how to solve the problem. So that's kind of where we start, and then from there is his investigation into how to get back home.
Yeah, I don't know if I would want to work for a supernatural detective agency in a way without really good insurance, because if you're popping out of here and appearing there, who's to say you're even in the same dimension anymore? Like that's kind of what it got me thinking of with Quantum Leap. He jumps through time, and he jumps into the body of somebody, and he's got to solve a mystery or right or wrong or fix a problem in the timeline before he can leap out and go somewhere else. This feels a lot like that. It's funny because Quantum Leap's making like a comeback, I guess. Like people they're rebooting it, but this feels really neat that there's like an intent behind it, that these people, these Displacers, have a job, and that power that they have is being channeled to solve problems, specifically because that's where the power comes from. Do we get any sort of like backstory behind that, or do we just get thrust into this universe where that's kind of like an accepted, established occurrence, that people appear in places to solve problems? They either succeed or fail, but they pop out of existence into somewhere else. So do we ever find out like what higher power is guiding this? Is there like a special conspiracy or something?
No, there's no explanation in this book at all. You're in a world that has accepted that this happens. So this book, there's no explanation at all. I'm thinking maybe over time, 2, 3, whatever, ongoing, we might get into it more. I thought it might just be fun to jump into this world. We don't need to worry about all the technical aspects or what's causing this. We just know it's happening. What do we do? So at its core, it's a detective story more than like a supernatural, fantastical, purpose of my power, all that stuff. Because at this point, this guy's been doing it for decades, and he hasn't figured it out yet. So he's just kind of, he's just accepted it, and so has the rest of the world at this point.
So on Cardinal, you had like a $3,000 goal. Now you have brought this one down to $1,000. Is that because you have either figured out how to print it on the cheap, lowered your, units ordered, the artist is less expensive? What is accounted for the dramatic reduction in price?
So it was two things mainly. One was the underperformance of the first campaign. I got about halfway to my goal, and I was like, okay, that kind of set my expectations of where I can kind of put a realistic goal that I can set. So that's like 1,000 I thought was realistic. And also, I got some more insight into, okay, how much does it actually cost to print and ship this thing? And it was less expensive than I thought it was. So kind of two aspects there. One is, a bit like realistic what I can expect, and also the whole printing side of it just being cheaper than I thought.
Who are you using for your printer?
I'm using it's 3D Zach on Twitter. He has
excellent. Yeah, I know 3D Zach. He's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, just had him on the show a little while back with Fowler to talk about his process and like their arrangement for Tiger Blue and how he got into print and everything like that. That was a really cool show. So I'm looking at this now. I gotta admit, the art style isn't what I would personally really find attractive. Like I've read some comic books where the art is a little bit more experimental, or like you said, impressionist or gestural. Stuff like that. This doesn't really strike me as the type of art that I like, but there's something about the way that it's being presented. I guess maybe the text boxes laid in, the way it's unfolding, that I'm finding myself actually interested in reading. And that's weird because generally I hate reading. I'm a writer and I hate reading. I know it's weird, but I also have like learning disabilities and shit that get in my way of reading. But I like the way that you've kind of broken this up. You have small snippets of information in these text boxes. I like how they're ripped, kind of like it's a Post-it note or something, or like a notepad that just this idea was written on and then the rest was torn away. Like almost mid-thought, and I like the way that you're punctuating this. So I do really appreciate you keeping the words to a minimum, to the essentials. It takes a lot for a writer to really pare down their words. I was looking at Wraith of God actually has a wonderful page, kind of towards the middle of the book, where it's just bubbles. You know what I mean? Like it's not what's his name bad. What's his name? The guy who makes all the bubbles. I can't remember his name right now. Frequency Girl bought a book by him about writing dialogue, and I was teasing her about it. But it's like one of those moments in the book where you're like, okay, this is the exposition. There's lots of bubbles everywhere. It doesn't strike me as we encounter anything like that throughout the course of the book. In fact, there are a lot more silent moments than there are, heavily cluttered by dialogue moments. I guess here in the beginning, it's a little bit more present, but that's also because you're building up the backstory. You're building up the world building. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much, Bendis. See, I was telling all this earlier today. It's like, I can't remember names. I can't. Yeah, retard confirmed. Indeed. That's the one. Arrogant Ape says, now that's a stream I still need to listen to. I was the 3D Zach stream. It was good. It was a very good stream. I really enjoyed it. Exactly. Neff, retard confirmed. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, the amount of dialogue here. So I got to ask, who is the narrator and who is he narrating to and why is he narrating? One of my big pet peeves. In noir, you can kind of get away with it a little bit more because the internal monologue is definitely part of the story. But who's the narrator? Why is he narrating? And who's he narrating to?
So before I get to that, I want to say, I do try to do very little dialogue for all my books. Cardinal I tried to get it down as minimal as I could. Still working on with Cardinal 2 to make it even less, because I hate reading as well. I usually, when I'm reading comics, there's a ton of dialogue, I skim right over it. So
it's just the way it works. Yeah. It's a visual medium, guys. You can't expect me to look at a page, see a novel, and want to read it. I want to look at the pretty pictures.
And as far as like the narration of it, the way I kind of thought of it is the Displacer is the narrator. He's narrating it, and like you're saying, I want it to look like he's writing it on like notepad or something like that. And in my mind, it's him writing it. It's almost like, I don't know. It's just hang with me here for a second. It's like he's writing it to himself, but like, hey, in the future, one day I might publish it, or like whenever I die, someone can see all my stuff, something like that. Where he's writing down, each of his cases. He'll scratch it down, maybe tear some of it out, throw it away. But he's just kind of keeping track of what he's doing in his cases, and like, yeah, maybe one day someone reads this thing. Who knows? And part of it obviously is trying to get with that more noir aspect of it, of the narration. But I always kind of thought of it as, it's like, is anybody else reading it other than him? Probably not, but in his mind, maybe one day.
I'm actually really kind of digging this transition here. It's probably not this way in the book. You're probably not going from like the urban suburban setting of this guy in a living room to just like this crazy nightmare fuel crucifixion scene with like, skulls and everything. But I gotta say, I something about this feels like a little bit more formed, or like more thoroughly illustrated narwhalish experiment. Aldous says, glad to hear this was really thought out. Glad to know Aldous is glad to hear. So tell us about the tiers. You only have 3, right? You got the basics, the book and badge, and the total fan pack. Tell us about it.
So basic book is exactly how it sounds. Just gets you the regular. It's a 61-page graphic novel. So if that's all you want to read, that's all you're going to get. No problem. The book and badge I've actually got, and again, today I just got the confirmations being shipped to me. I'm going to have an iron-on patch that looks like the Displacer's badge that you showed in one of those earlier panels on the campaign page. There is a high-res version of it, and that's one reason why, is because we're going to actually make those badges that you can have and iron onto your clothes if you want to. And obviously it comes with the book as well. And then the fan pack, I just threw in all the stuff that I like to have whenever I back a book. It's going to get the book, you're going to get a trading card, a sticker, a bookmark, and the badge as well. It's a 4-inch die-cut sticker. I think the badge is like 3.5 by 4.5 inches. It's pretty big as well. Bookmark.
All right. Time out.
Yeah.
You mentioned bookmark and sticker. Now,
yes.
This world is a topsy-turvy world that we live in. Everything is uncertain. We're going through a recession that is not a recession because you can't call it a recession. Dogs and cats live together. Bookmarks and stickers on the same campaign. You have to pick a side. Are you team sticker or are you team bookmark?
If I had to pick a side, I am one of the people who I never put a sticker on anything. None of my iPad, my laptop, my car, none of it has any sort of sticker or decal on it. They're nice to have, but I never use them. I just kind of set them somewhere, and I have a little collection of them. I would use the bookmark because I actually do like them. It is convenient to have a bookmark, so I'd probably have to be on team bookmark.
I understand it. This is America. You're allowed to be wrong, but bookmarks, man, they divide, right? Stickers stick and bring things together. I'm not going to try and change your mind. You're entitled to your opinion, like I said. In case you didn't know, guys, we do have a campaign coming up by the one and only Snuggy Jr. Called Stickers versus Bookmarks. So definitely keep your eyes out for that one, because it's going to be a very interesting and fun campaign with a lot of interesting and fun reward tiers. So why only 3 tiers? Why the highest tier, $45? Don't you think you could probably go for a bigger splash with like a $75 tier? I don't know, throwing like a bigger extra on there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so again, a couple reasons for that. 3 tiers because, again, with Cardinal 1, I think I had more than that. I can't remember how many I had exactly.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's right here.
1, 2,
4.
3,
You had four,
4.
and one was a $70 tier.
Uh, and see if you look at that, only 2 of them sold, right? So the Cardinal Basic book and the Cardinal set are the only 2 that sold.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? And again, I know I'm a pretty unknown creator at this point. I know I don't have a lot of pull to, so I'm like, you know what? Let me try and be a little bit more reasonable. I'm going to offer things that I think people are actually going to buy. And as far as the price point only being at 45, that's definitely something that I want to keep kind of building up and up. But offer something like, if I was going to offer like $100 tier, a $75 tier, I would want it to be something that I really thought was worth it, something that I really believed in and was excited about. And at the moment, I don't know what it would be for this campaign. And I don't want to just throw out some expensive tier that's just full of garbage to try and justify a price point that high. Yeah, I can't think of what I would put. I know you could do like original art or like draw yourself into the comic. I see a lot of people do that. But again, my comic's usually drawn by the time that the book launches.
You could always get the artist more gigs doing commissions, like do a $70 book plus original commission that the artist gets to do, and you kick him back the cost of his commission that you sold for him on the campaign. You make the money to print the book, and there's more money into the overall total. I don't know. Like there's little things to do. Check out this Rob Willis Matt Yackee cover here, guys.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's like, it's, if you missed out on Cardinal, is there going to be a way for us to get it in the future? That's another thing you could do. Run a like a grab bag catch up here kind of thing.
Thought about doing that. What I want to do is I want to do a second chance campaign next year, and I pretty much want to sell through, because I printed more books than I sold just to have some overflow. I want to sell through what I've got, and then I want to I'm thinking about maybe recoloring it, because the colors I liked, but again, like I said, it was one of those situations where my colorist that I was going to use for book 1 kind of last minute bailed on me. I had to find a replacement, someone who could get the work done quickly to not set my book up another year. So right. I like the colors, but it's like, I think I'd like to have a second shot at it. So what I'm thinking about doing is with book 2, you do Cardinal book 2 and then like a remastered book 1 as an option. So yeah, there'll definitely be more than one opportunity to get your hands on it next year.
Well, that's great, because, going into Cardinal 2, I'm definitely going to want to know what happened in Cardinal 1. I'm going to want to catch up tier at the very least. But running a second chance campaign, you really don't have anything to lose doing that, especially since you're already fulfilled once. And, going through the book and getting it recolored, that's a process, right? Like redoing anything is a process. If you have a book that you put out there and you want to get it redrawn, remastered, touched up, it's a pain in the ass. Let me just put it that way. It's a pain in the ass. There's a lot of work. It's a big expense, and you're really not making anything new. You're just changing the existing product and updating it and making it a higher caliber art that you want to be using going ahead in the future. So I understand that, but like it might be more of an expense than you need to absorb. You know what I mean?
It probably will be more of an expense than I need to absorb. That's almost certainly true. But with my books, and I said this on Narwhal's stream, whenever I'm making this stuff, I know that I'm probably not going to turn a profit, because I'm making the book before I even launch it. I'm not launching it, seeing how much money I make, and then going ahead and making the book. So like I make them because it's what I want to do. I have these stories that I want to tell and that I like. So that's why I put them out primarily. So it's like recoloring the book probably is going to be not a good return, but it's something that I want to be proud of how this book looks. And I am proud of it right now. I think the interiors look good, but I want them to look better. So that's why I would do it, just because it's something that I think would enhance the art and make me appreciate it more.
I hear that. I appreciate the sentiment behind that, and also the dedication to like, you know, the quality of the book and improving the colors, or at least bringing them more in line with what you want to be showing off in the next version. All right, so what did you what did you learn overall as part of your crowdfunding experience? What was like the greatest obstacle putting out a book in the first place, and how did you overcome it?
The biggest obstacle was, as far as production of the book, the biggest obstacle was just finding viable, and that was just kind of trial and error. Like basically looking at red flags of people and realizing, okay, maybe let's look at somebody else and how do they interact with me? You know, do they seem like a nice person? Because I factor that a lot. Like, how easy are you to work with? Because I had this one guy for Cardinal 1 who I liked a lot, but he was so difficult to work with. It's like you have to cut him loose and go with somebody else. So that's a big factor of learning as far as production. As far as the book overall, the biggest hurdle was probably just the promotion side of it. And it was like learning, and again, still learning just how important it is to be on shows, to get word of mouth from other people.
There. Yep.
Yeah, to get out there. And like most comic book creators, I assume are kind of like me. I'm pretty introverted. I don't like going out a whole lot, you know, or putting myself out there a lot. Making YouTube videos helped a lot with just being comfortable.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's part of the whole build your channel thing, is also like get you out of your shell, make you commit to putting your face in front of a camera and saying dumb shit to get people interested in you.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that was probably the biggest part. And I'm hoping I'm getting better at it. And going forward, I want to just keep getting better at it. And really get in with like the community itself, because that's one thing too. Like the reason one reason I feel like I don't promote, other than just kind of being nervous about it, is like I feel kind of icky hitting somebody up to be like, hey man, can you make some money for me? Can you like promote my book and try and get people to buy my stuff? Especially if it's someone I haven't interacted with before, because it's like, I do like you. I do watch your stuff and see what you do on Twitter, and it's like, I think you're a cool guy, and I do like what you do, and I do want to hang out with you. But also, can you promote my book for me? It's like, I don't want them to think that it's all just this monetary thing, and that as soon as this is over, oh, I'm gone till the next time I need your help or whatever. It's like, I do like these guys, and I like hanging out with them. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to come across as somebody just looking to make a buck off someone else.
Right. Well, it's definitely part of the equation, right? Is earning people's trust. But like, especially with CG, you interact with it to the extent that you want to interact with it, right? There are a lot of people who just kind of like come around, they shill their book, and then they vanish. There are a lot of people who come around, shill their book, and they show up in the chats every so often, but they maintain a presence, and you kind of know who they are. There are people who have regular shows that people tune into, who get like, you know, known throughout the different circles, who are omnipresent, and those people have books that they sell at like, I guess, a level higher than the books that people who just kind of infrequently enter into the chat sell. I mean, like, look at Rini, Sontag, Catapano, look at, you know, Zades, you know, the Diaz brothers, look at all of the professionals, you know, like they maintain a presence by letting the audience come to them. So like for this channel, you know, specifically, you getting in touch with me gives me the opportunity to get to know you, talk to you, look at your book, see if I like it, criticize it if I feel the need to criticize it, and make a connection with you that maybe will work for both of us later down the line. You know, if I like what you're doing, we've already talked, you know what I mean? Like we've met, we've connected, you came on, talked about your book. It's not necessarily just a shill stream, even though the goal is for people to get to see your campaign. Nobody really expects to make money going on these shows. If you have an audience that likes to back books, going on the show is really just to talk about your book. I know Narwhal gives you the Narwhal nudge, right? And we're kind of like the frequency. We're like the frequency flick, because you know we don't even do nearly as much as Narwhal can, and he can't touch the Bancroft bump. I don't care what he says. No. That is not happening. No way, no how. We got Hockey with us. He says, "Are you calling me out? How dare you? No, Hockey. We are not calling you out. We are just glad you are having a great day, my friend." But yeah, I think that's kind of the long and short of it. Get involved in the community, if you want to call it a community. Maintain a presence on the network. Work with people, help people, interact with people, and to the extent that you want to. You can't really be a fake fan, right? You're either a fan or you're not, right? You're either around because you like it here, or you're not because you don't really value it and you don't care. You're either on the shows hanging out because you have fun and you like talking to Mo Biggs, right? Or you're not hanging out because either you're busy or whatever, but it's not like a priority for you. Sometimes I get it. People disappear because they've got a lot of shit on their plate. I don't get to the chats nearly as much as I would like to these days. But I guess, the flip side of that is I run a show. I make sure that there's an hour that I'm present, 3 times a week, talking to people that are in CG, that are in indie comics. I make myself available to my chat. I do not gatekeep them by any means. We always try and read out comments, right? So it's maintaining that presence. And I know, like, you're on the YouTube, you're putting out videos. Maybe try and like invite other people on to do stuff with you. Like, it seems like you and Narwhal have a pretty good relationship. Maybe see if you could get him to come on your show once a month, or just do a pre-recorded video with you once a month. Help boost your visibility a little bit, because you seem like a fairly intelligent guy with an interesting book, who's got a story to tell, and you've been around for quite some time. I checked out your Indiegogo backing list. It goes back, pre-2018. So, I think that you would benefit more from people just learning your name, right? Any other final thoughts you want to let people know before we take off, before we get out of here?
Final thoughts would be, I appreciate everybody who came to hear my pitch and come to the show and hang out. Definitely check out the book if it seems interesting to you. Like I said prior, I've already had one campaign fulfilled on time. I expect this to be the same. And support both from you taking me on the show and everybody else watching.
Of course. Well, we're glad to have had you on. Take a look at this thing. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us. I know we started late tonight. Thank you very much for accommodating us. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Tanner, and showing us the book. We really enjoyed talking about the Displacer with you. Everybody, I encourage you to go check out the campaign at the very least. Back it if you can. And yeah, that's going to be it for us tonight. If you enjoyed the content, you can always give us a thumbs up. It would be greatly appreciated. Or, even consider subscribing, because for some reason, Frequency Girl still likes it when you do that. And, you can always also click the bell for notifications. I'm trying to do this outro the right way. So see you next time. Tune into the Frequency. Bye.